Parent-teacher conferences. I'm driving home from parent-teacher conferences. Music? Yeah? No? Okay. Anyway. Hello! I'm Chuck. I'm an educator with a new job this year and a new commute, and you are riding shotgun in me exploring what in the world to do with all this extra time in the car. Welcome to the Drive Time Diary for tonight. I'm on the way home from school at 7:50 p.m. After our second night of parent-teacher conferences, and this was the first time in many years where all of my conferences weren't pre-scheduled. My last school, even if we were Zoom or in person, every parent or guardian or adult grown-up had to schedule a time on a scheduler that we had to meet with the teacher. The benefit to that is I know who's coming, and so I can be a little more prepared about what I'm going to say about that kid, with the good or bad. Or the good and bad, really, is what I would prefer to do. What's that called? The sandwich method or something? You say a good thing and then a bad thing and then a good thing. And yeah, so you can like work on your sandwich if you know who's going to come. And on our first day, so this is Wednesday, I'm recording this. On Monday afternoon/evening, we had Zoom conferences that we did have parents schedule and sign up for a time slot. And that was, actually I only had 4 in our 3 hours of conferences on Monday. So like 40 minutes that I was actually meeting with parents then, which was really different because at my last school I had to purposefully schedule in extra breaks, or I was going to be sitting on Zoom nonstop for like 3 hours, which is awesome because it means that parents want to meet with you, which is fantastic. That's part of the social contract, right, listeners? We talk about that a lot here on the Drive Time. The social contract is teacher, meet with me and let my kid know how they're doing, and be available for parent-teacher conference. And our side of that is, okay, when we have conferences, please come. And I think in schools where the social contract with the public schools is functioning well, then you are able to get a high attendance rate. I think it's up to the school to create an environment in which you're going to get that high attendance rate. If you're having conferences, like when I was in 4th grade or 6th grade, or maybe both, my elementary school that I was attending had conferences during the day. Like, I think from the teacher side of that was so that they didn't have to like give a comp day like districts do now, and it was just, that was the teacher's work day that day, was meeting with parents. But if parents wanted to go to that, they had to take off, or be off. Like, my parents worked nights for a lot of my childhood, so they could have attended in that scenario because they would have just gotten off of work and been exhausted and whatnot. But if you were having, if a school was having parent-teacher conferences or parent meetings during the day, and no one was able to show up because no one was able to get childcare or take off work and come, it would be dishonest and ingenuous for the school to say, parents don't support us, no one wants to come to parent-teacher conferences, we held them and the attendance rate was 23% or whatever. If the school knowingly proceeds with a plan that they know won't work with families, then on that side of the social contract of public schools, the school is being unjust and wrong. And so we have to offer parent-teacher conferences in a way that families can come. So I was really excited that we did this hybrid that kind of let parents choose their modality of meeting with the parents or meeting with the teachers. So we had Zoom on Monday, and then tonight all of the teachers were in the cafeteria, and it was unscheduled, and just pop in, find the table that your child's teacher is sitting at, and meet with them. In this scenario, it's a lot handier to meet with all the teachers to get through your kid's whole schedule. It's a lot easier than if we were all in our own classrooms, because then the parents have to navigate the building, they have to go there. Let's say that there's a line at that teacher's door. They're kind of committed to staying there because otherwise they would have to walk down the hallway and try to find some other thing. When we do conferences in a big space like that, if Mr. Baker's table has a line, maybe I can be looking over and seeing that Mr. Guthrie is open, and I'm also trying to meet with Mr. Guthrie, so maybe I pop over there instead. That kind of thing, which is good for parents. The disadvantage to doing it this way is since it's not like scheduled, then some conferences are going to go longer than others, and sometimes it's like a little bit less equitable on how long we make parents wait and how long each parent gets to end up talking about their child with the teacher. So that's the disadvantage to that. Didn't really run into that problem today, but maybe I did and I just didn't even notice it because Mr. Baker had a line at his table. In a good way. I've had a line before, and it was some parents that were looking forward to being mad at me for the grade that their kid had. I did not have any scenarios like that, but there's some grades that maybe I really wish I would have heard from that parent. Well, I didn't have only A's, which is good. I had lots of parents that I was talking to that there were steps that we needed to take, me, them, that student, to show some growth and to find a path forward to more success. And it was really good that we had that conversation. I didn't have as many of those conversations as I would like to, but we were able to have some. It wasn't just all, hey, your kid has an A, they're great, goodbye, that kind of thing. You like to see those kids too, because then you can talk about the future. One of my A students that came in, their dad then asked, like, what's the next class I'm going to take? What's after that? And so I was able to talk up AP Stats, which for this kid would be like 3 years in the future. But put that wrinkle in there to keep the program alive. But the best one, that's the whole reason I wanted to record this podcast episode. I was thinking about not even doing it, but I had two really positive ones. The first one was a mom who their kid is ornery, and they know it. Like, if your kid is ornery, like, you know that. And so when we send them out into the world, we just hope that they suppress some of their orneriness for the sake of other people. And so I was able to talk to her about a lot of the time that her child has been a leader and like a positive force for good in the classroom. And then the other 10-15% where he's still a little ornery. And we were actually able to share a story about him figuring out a way that I told her about how he had kind of figured out the button to push yesterday in my class and kept pushing it. And then she shared a story about a time that he had done that same thing to her. And but through what she said and what I had told her, it seems like there's like this arc of him maturing and figuring out when that silliness and orneriness is appropriate and when it's not. And so that was really cool, and that was a really great conversation to have that would not have happened face-to-face if we did not have this prearranged parent-teacher conference night. So that was awesome. And then the other one, I had a student that their home language is Spanish, and the school district, I'm pretty certain, set this up to have interpreters there at the table for I think it was somewhere between 5 and 10 families that needed this. So I got to talk to one of them, and it was just really fun because I have been doing Duolingo for several years and remember Spanish from high school and used to mess around and practice my Spanish with the Spanish teacher next door at my last school, and would stay up on what the kids were learning in Spanish class because I enjoy learning the language. But I don't often get to practice it, so it was really fun to try to Spanglish my way through some of that so that I could attempt to hear some things that the mother was saying to the interpreter before the interpreter spoke. And as I got a little more comfortable as our meeting went on, for me to try to speak directly to the mom in a few ways. And that was just a really fun moment also, and I hope from her perspective that she saw my effort in me saying in Spanish to the kid. His English is fine, but I wanted to say it to him so she could hear and hear that moment also. To say to him, tienes un 83. You have a 83. I don't know if that's actually the way that they would say it in Spanish for real, but I mean, if you put that into Google Translate, I know it would say you have a 83. What's another thing I said? I told her that the kid's project needs 30 lines. So I was able to look right at her and say, necesita. He needs 30 más lines. Lines. The translator helped me with. And so me being able to look at her and say that, I think, facilitated her asking another question to the translator to get some more clarification on what this kid's project was supposed to be. And I got to say ahora mismo, right now. I don't know if the context of how I said that application of it was right, but I got to practice that as the conference went on, and that was just a really fun moment of connecting with the parent. And shout out to my school for getting the translator there, because otherwise that just would have been a train wreck. Not a train wreck, but just like the mom would have been sitting there and the kid would not have really been able to translate that. So it was really cool that we were able to do that, and I got to practice my Espanol, and that's like the reason why I do it. Like I don't have any grand plans to travel to Latin countries. That's not why I'm learning it, but I want to be able to connect with a person that their language of choice is Spanish, especially if that's like all they have, to be able to make a connection there and speak to them in their heart language. That's really important to me also. So that's why I practice my Duolingo, and my wife actually got to have that kind of moment before I even did, which was cool. To summers ago at our church at the Vacation Bible School, she had this kid show up that like only spoke Spanish, and it was like this kindergartner or 4-year-old or something. And typically the way logistically that we do that, we have a teacher, a leader in our program that is on staff part-time that is Mexican, was born in Mexico, and so I think logistically usually she just takes any kid that's a Spanish speaker, and even if they're not quite the right age, they just go upstairs with her. But somehow those wires got crossed, and so this child that was exclusively a Spanish speaker shows up in my wife's group for the week, and so she found out really quick that I think she knew she had learned more Spanish from her studying on Duolingo than she thought she had, and so she was coming home every day with like this story of things that she got to practice and ways that she got to try to connect with this kid because of what she had learned. And it was so fun to watch, just her to have done something, to be available, to have a connecting moment with somebody, to make them feel comfortable, and to then hear how God was able to use her to connect with that kid and give her an opportunity to meet Jesucristo. And she got that kind of cool teacher story before I even did. So this is a much smaller level today, connecting with the mom, also via a translator. But that was really fun. I kind of have my own kernel of a story now. Also, and that kind of moment is what makes working in industries where we help develop and connect and grow people so rewarding. Is just those connections. And so for all the goods and bads of parent-teacher conferences, the long nights, the fact I still have to go back to work at the normal time tomorrow, and when sometimes you have angry parents at your table, and all of that, great night tonight. Super glad we got to do it. Super glad I got that opportunity to say a lot of good news to parents, and super glad to be going home now. That's all for this drive. Thanks for riding shotgun with me. I'd love to hear your parent-teacher conference stories as a parent or as a on the teacher end if you're an educator, or if you were a student having to sit at your own parent-teacher conference. If you've got a cringe story there, hit me up on Instagram at DriveTimeDiary or Mr. C. Baker for Math, or on the X at Chuck C. Baker. That's all for now. Drive safe.